Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome into this Adobe Premiere Pro tutorial. My name is Nathaniel Dodson from tutvid.com. Today we're going to take a look at 5 little hidden tips, tricks, features, just 5 things that I think are pretty cool that I don't see too many people talking about when it comes to Adobe Premiere Pro. If you enjoy this video, well, you can slap a like on the video, but subscribe to the channel so you never miss any video editing or Premiere Pro, After Effects, you name it, tutorials in the future. Let's jump into Premiere Pro right now and check this thing out. Okay, all right, here we are in Adobe Premiere Pro. Let's just jump right into this thing. Number one, I want to show you, well, a couple little things, but it's mainly about how to change your poster frame or set a poster frame, which is the preview frame of a clip you have here in your project bin. Number one, and this is just a tip on the way to the tip, if you hit your tilde key, which is the button just to the left of the number 1 on your keyboard, when you're hovering over any of the panels here in the UI, like the project panel, it's going to make it full screen. Tap tilde again and it's back to normal. Maybe when audio track mixture pulled up and back to normal. Maybe the timeline. I'm hovering over the timeline and back to normal. And you don't have to select the panel. You can just hover your mouse over it like effects here. Boom. And now the effects panel is big. I'm going to do that with project just so we can see what's going on. So these video clips, they had a black frame when I first imported them, but I have set a new poster frame. So if I'm working on the project or I'm passing it off to an editor, obviously anybody can see this. A couple things we can do here. I can right click up here on the project tab. And by the way, you can do it with the bin or the panel being smaller. And I would turn on this right here, the preview area. So this is kind of a cool little preview. This is especially useful, by the way, if you're using the list mode. So you can hover over, or not really even hover over, but select a clip and you can get a nice little preview of it. One of the cool things about this is you can scrub to a point in the video, like maybe right there, and you can click the little camera icon and that sets the poster frame. What that's going to do is it's going to change the default frame, which you see in your preview area. Same thing here with musician playing bass. Maybe I'll scroll this back to the beginning, and this is why I had these 2 bass clips in here, is because the very first frame on both of these is just this black clip. Well, obviously, that's kind of problematic. I'm going to hit tilde here to bring up the full screen again, and I'm going to go back to my thumbnail view mode here. You can see that those 2 clips are black. So being able to hover over, maybe say like right there is the poster frame we want, that's great. Well, of course, we can select the clip and do it up here with our preview area. I don't really like preview area, so I'm going to right click and shut that off. It's just nice to know it's there. What I like to do is hover over the clip. Let's say right there is where I want, then right click and choose set poster frame. Easy peasy. You've got your poster frame just like that. Now this, obviously, it's going to be really useful for you. Let's say you're working with a bunch of B-roll and there's one part of like a 10-minute B-roll clip where this one moment is the exact moment you want. Set that as your poster frame. That way you don't have to, make some long convoluted name like this is B-roll for the 5-second mark, go 12.5 minutes into the clip, and there is the little bit you want. You can just kind of set it as a poster frame, and as you're scrolling through very quickly, instantaneously, you can identify the clip and do whatever you want with it. And it's really nice to be able to set a custom poster frame. That's what I'm trying to say. And that is the way that I do it here in Adobe Premiere Pro. So now next up, I'm going to drag out here on my timeline. I've got some of this video out here. Let's do a little something with this. Let's grab the rectangle tool here and just drag a rectangle out to the middle. And we want this rectangle to be maybe like the base background for a lower third. Maybe it's going to say guitar guy or something across the middle. Well, the first thing that I want to do here is align it to the middle of my frame area. Now, you could normally align center by going Window, Essential Graphics, and then what you would do when the Essential Graphics panel does decide to load for us, there we go, select the Edit button, and you have some alignment options here. A little bit of a pain in the neck, though, because I don't know about you, but I don't keep the Essential Graphics panel open. You can grab your selection tool right here, and hold down your Command or Control key and click and drag, and you're going to have these lines appear, and your graphic will snap to the middle of the frame window, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's going to snap right into place for you. So you get these nice controls. Now, let's say we want to do something else. We're going to come down here to Transform, and we're going to scale this down. Now, I only want it to scale horizontally. We want this to sort of shoot out from the side or the middle. So I would uncheck Uniform Scale, and I would just begin with my horizontal scale. So I'll set this back to, let's say, 0, right? And then I'll drop a keyframe here by toggling the animation on. I'll move out a little bit like that, and then we'll just set this back to 100. I'm going to set it to 100 even. There we go. And if I play through this animation, well, you'll see here, voila, we have this play out. The problem is we really want it to come out from the middle, not the left-hand side. Well, in order to change that, you need to move this little guy up here, the anchor point. And see when we hover over it, we get that kind of selection tool with the special little quad arrow next to it. That means we're going to grab the anchor point and move it. Now, if we want this to come from the middle, we need to grab that anchor point and drag it to the middle. Problem is, where is the middle? Well, what I normally would do is align it with these anchor handles on the side and the top, but you also here can hold down your Command or Control key, and that anchor point will snap to the middle, it'll snap to edges, it'll snap to all kinds of areas that are super duper useful, and just like that, you can have your anchor point snapped right to the middle of a graphic, a piece of text, whatever it is that you're working with and animating. It's all about where the anchor point is, and this little trick makes it so fast and easy, and it's just an incredibly helpful little thing to know how to do. And here now, if we reset our animation and play through it, it now plays out from the center, and we did nothing with the keyframes. We just changed the anchor point. All right, so I'm going to move down here, and we've got some audio. It's just a simple music track, but let's pretend for a second that this is part of an interview, right? And it's a bunch of different clips, and we need to apply a certain effect to all of these audio clips. Well, of course, you can select all of the clips, and you can go to audio effects, and you could drag, I don't know, like an analog delay, and drop it on all the clips like that. But there are some effects, like adaptive noise reduction, that they take a couple seconds to really kick in. So what you'd have happening is this sort of like rebooting effect, where as each cut in your clip happened, adaptive noise reduction would have to readapt to that clip, and you'd have this kind of fading in and out of your noise reduction, which would be very annoying. Well, if you open up and use this track, this panel here called the Audio Track Mixer under Window, Audio, where's Audio Track Mixer right there, and you can see I have it open for this particular sequence. I'm just going to select that, and maybe I'll even make it full screen. What we have here, and this is the important part that what I want to focus on right here, is A1, this is Audio Track 1, 2, 3, and then we have a submix and a master. I'm going to collapse that again real quick. And if we look down here at our timeline, we're going to see we have corresponding tracks. A1, Audio 2, 3, the submix, and a master. We'll very briefly touch on what a submix is, but I want to focus on applying an effect that to an entire track, not just to one clip. So over here in the Audio Track Mixer, if you don't have this little arrow twirled down, you see that little arrow up there, and just twirl that down, and you can fill these slots with different effects. So I could just hit the little down arrow key here, and I could apply a hard limiter if I wanted. And it would apply that same hard limiter across the entire track. So maybe I'll go with like a reverb. We'll go with maybe a studio reverb. It'll probably be hard to hear this. Let's go with yeah, you know what? I'm going to go with my gut. I'm just going to go with a studio reverb here. And you can see we just get this one little change. We can hit the little drop down and change any of the parameters of that effect. Or what might be easier is just double click on it, and you're going to get the normal dialog box that you would expect to get with any effect. And maybe I'll go with, I don't know, I'll just go with a preset swirly reverb, something like that. And I'll make it wetter because I feel like wetter is more noticeable and sometimes not in a good way. And then I'll just leave that. I'm going to hit the tilde key to get out of that panel. And now on the Audio 1 track, right, A1, if I just scroll down here, A1, which is where our audio is, any audio clips that get dropped onto this track are going to be attacked by Studio Reverb. And if I play through this here, we can listen. I honestly don't know how noticeable this is going to be. So maybe what I'll do is I will also add something like a pitch shifter, and we'll double click on this. And we will just, well, you know, actually we'll make it more high pitched, something like that. And I'll close it. Let's see what this sounds like. Right, so it kind of sounds weird. I can hit the little FX icon here. That'll temporarily shut off this pitch shifter effect. Listen. Right, and now we're back to normal. So it's kind of cool. It's a really neat thing that you can do, and it's particularly helpful, like I said, when you're working on noise reduction, adaptive noise reduction. This is the best way to use it, I think, especially when you have multiple clips lined up if you're working, let's say, on an interview. Now, I said I would mention submix a moment ago, and this is kind of, again, adding like another little tip or trick. I'm going to open up and boost my Audio Track Mixer to full screen here. The submix is a place that you can route other audio tracks in your project. Again, using this hypothetical of an interview that we'd be working on, let's say you have an interview and there's 3 different voices, and each of those voices is on one of these tracks, right? So the Audio 1 track would be the person who you're interviewing, Audio 2 might be you, the interviewer, and Audio 3 might be a second person you're interviewing, right? You can, maybe you have certain processes that you apply to all of these audio tracks. Maybe there's a multi-band compressor, a hard limiter, some dynamics, processing, stuff like that you apply. A little EQ here and there never hurt, right? Well, what you can do is this little drop down right now is telling all of our 3 audio tracks to output to the master out track. This right here, this is the audio being outputted by our entire Premiere document. We can sort of have it stop though at a submix here. So we can say, look, instead of outing yourself right to the master out, make a quick stoppy stop at submix 1. And here on submix 1, we can say, all right, we're going to go ahead and apply some dynamics processing. We'll throw a hard limiter on there and a multi-band compressor and process all those tracks of audio through a submix, which then, oh, by the way, ships it right to the master out which is what everybody's going to hear when you render out your video. So submixes can be a really useful way to take multiple tracks of audio and kind of, stick them into, almost think of it like a layer group that you can apply a big bunch of adjustments right to. So I don't want to dwell on that too much. We can talk a lot about the audio track mixer at some point in the future, but it's there's a lot of stuff you can do up there. But the main thing I wanted to cover was applying audio effects to an entire track. It can be really, really nice and powerful to do such a thing. All right, so the next little trick is kind of a quick one. What I'm going to do, I'm going to move this down so I can see my video again. I think I'm going to get rid of that little red bar we made, and I want there to be a little bit of a crossfade between these 3 shots, right? Well, what we can do is we can select these 3 clips and hit Command or Control D, and it's going to say, look, Insufficient Media, the transition, so we're placing a transition, will contain repeated frames. Don't worry, that's not always going to happen. I'm going to zoom in, and you can see we've got these little crossfade effects that we've placed. Again, all I did was hit the hotkey Command or Control D. And what that does is it places your default transition on those clips. You can see it even placed it at the beginning. So right there, it fades the clip in. Maybe we don't want the transition to be at the beginning. We only want the transition to be on these 2 cuts in our video. Hold down the Command or Control key and drag a selection over just those 2 cuts. Hit Command or Control D. We're going to get the same Insufficient Media game. And it's going to go ahead and place those transitions just on those 2 cuts that we've specified. A really nice little thing to do. Now, you may be saying, default transitions, what are you talking about? Well, here in the effects panel, we have video transitions, and in here, under dissolve, I have cross dissolve, and you can see there's this little blue outline around it. Well, the blue outline means that that is my default transition. I could right-click, for instance, on dip to black and say, hey, set this as my default transition. But I use cross-dissolve maybe more than the rest of these, so I'm going to leave that as my default transition. By the way, you can do the same thing with audio transitions. See, there's a blue outline around constant power. That would be the crossfade that gets applied. And you apply an audio transition, I should add. Let me just zoom in here. Whoop, didn't mean to double-click on that. Let's come over here. Let's select this little transition. You would hit Shift and the letter D, and you apply an audio transition just like that. So it's a nice little hotkey to have in your back pocket. You can do a lot with it, and maybe just to add another little tip in here. I know I'm a little all over the place here, but it's sometimes just how it is, right? If you want to change the size of that transition, we can go up here, Premiere Pro, Preferences, and go down to the Timeline option, and then choose your Video Transition Default Duration and Audio Transition Default Duration. So if you find you need like a super fast video transition, like over the course of 5 or 6 frames, go ahead and punch that in if that's what you use all the time. I actually usually keep mine pretty fast. I'm just throwing it up to 30 frames for this example, but you have an option. You can do all sorts of things in terms of your timing, and whatever you use most, go and set that as the default. It's really kind of great. All right, so the next thing that I want to talk about here, and let me just reset this to my audio track mixer because it's distracting me. The next thing I want to talk about here is smart rendering. Smart rendering is super duper cool. One of the knocks, one of the things that I'm even kind of critical about Premiere Pro about is the rendering time. Rendering time in something like Final Cut Pro is super duper fast compared to rendering in Premiere Pro because, well, Final Cut Pro does a couple things differently, but using smart rendering in Premiere Pro, you still won't quite get to the point where you would be in something like Final Cut Pro, but you can dramatically speed up your render time. So what is smart rendering? Well, let me read to you how Adobe describes smart rendering, and you can make the decision for yourself. When exporting, smart rendering can be used for certain formats to create better quality output by avoiding recompression when possible. Smart rendering works only if the source codec, size, frame rate, and bit rate match the export settings. And then in this Adobe file, I will link this down in the description. There's a list of the different really codecs that are supported or able to use smart rendering. Basically, smart rendering is the way to take a video that would have taken a long time to render and make it render way faster. Let me give you an example. I'm going to drag out an adjustment layer here above this little drone shot of the city where the drone is just bouncing back and forth. I'm going to stretch the adjustment layer over the whole thing. And I am going to, in my presets, I'm going to look for something called grading. There it is, Lumetri grading example, and I'm going to drag that onto the adjustment layer to apply this sort of pseudo-cinematic grade to the video clip, okay? Now, the idea is going to be we want to take this clip and export it for our client. So what am I going to do? I'm going to hit the letter I to set an in point, and I'm going to move all the way to the end of my video, hit the down arrow key to get to the end of that clip, hit the letter O, and set an out point. We're now going to go ahead and export this chunk of video. Hang with me. I'm going to time this. I'm going to hit Command or Control M while having the timeline selected here. Command or Control M. It's going to bring up my export settings. And because we're using smart rendering, we're going to go ahead and export this to an Apple ProRes 422 video codec. If you don't have ProRes, you can go with the DNX HD codec. That'll work pretty well for you. I'm going to go with Apple ProRes 422, not the HQ, just for the example. 422 is going to export a little bit faster for us. So I'll select that. And down here under video codec, we can see that Apple ProRes 422 has been selected for us. We've got our format set as QuickTime. That's also kind of important. We're going with the QuickTime format. I'm choosing to export video and audio. Great. I'm not going to use previews here. And everything else can kind of remain as it is. We're matching the source basically on the width and height of our frame, the frame rate, all that stuff. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a place to save it to on my hard drive. I've got this folder here called Renders, and I'm going to name this 01-No Smart Rendering. Something like that, all right? I'm going to hit save, and what we're going to do here is we are going to time this and see how long this takes. I'm obviously going to speed it up because it's going to take a couple minutes, but the overall video, we're just exporting the sequence in-out, so from the in point to the out point, and it's 1 minute and 5 seconds plus 9 frames. So I'm going to go ahead and hit export and time this. All right, so that took about 3 minutes and 10 seconds to render, what was it, a little over a minute of footage. Not horrible, but we can do so much better. And here's one of the big problems. Let's say we do that, and the client gets back to us and they say, you know what? I really want just a random part of this video, maybe one of these clips to be black and white. So we could do something like, come up here to my presets. I think I have a black and white preset up here. Yeah, I can just drag this and drop it right on the video. Boom, we've got part of this black and white. It's underneath our adjustment layer still, but whatever. The problem is now we still have to just re-export the entire video. And if this is a 40-minute long video, we're talking about probably, a several-hour render depending on how fast your computer is. This is part of where the beauty of Smart Render comes in. So here's how we set up for Smart Rendering. Again, you're going to want to check out the link in the description to make sure that your file formats are going to work with Smart Rendering. But up here under Sequence, we would go to our Sequence settings. And we want to come down, we want to set our editing mode to custom, number one. And then we're going to come down here to our video previews. This is kind of where the magic happens. I'm going with a QuickTime file format, and we're going to choose the Apple ProRes 422 codec. What this means is I'm going to hit OK. It's going to tell me all the video previews are going to be deleted. This operation cannot be undone. Okay, great. Thank you for the heads up, Premiere. But we definitely want to do this. Now what you can do is come up here to Sequence and choose Render In to Out. Now note, I've given this a hotkey of Command Return. This would be equivalent if you're on Windows to like Control Enter. I've done that under Premiere Pro, keyboard shortcuts, and you can just come up here and search for Render In. You're looking for Render In to Out, not effects in to out, but the whole, render the whole shebang in to out. And the reason I give it a hotkey is because the perfect time to use this is, let's say you're getting up to grab a cup of coffee, go to the bathroom, I don't know, you're going to lunch, something like that, and you want to render a big chunk or your entire project. Well, you can just, when you finish working in Premiere, you can just go ahead, Command Return. It's going to begin rendering into out. It's going to crank its way through this, and it just essentially takes advantage of dead time. Now, you may be thinking, what if I get up for lunch and I'm still not done with my project? Well, part of the beauty of this is any little clips that you need to change, like that little clip that we converted to black and white, when it comes time to render the video out, you will only have to re-render that one little clip, not the entire project again. Everything else remains rendered. And you're going to see here in a moment, when the rendering wraps up, just how much time this saves. So I'm going to speed the video up. We're going to allow this sort of pre-rendering process to finish. And because, again, we have our previews under the Sequence setting set to pre-render a preview that is in the Apple ProRes 422 codec, just wait until you see the speed of the actual factual render when we go and export this thing. All right, so the pre-rendering there is finished, and it took about the same amount of time, about 3 minutes, a little more than 3 minutes. Now you may be saying, what's the big advantage? I'm still spending that 3 minutes rendering something. Well, the advantage is, number one, you can render chunks of your document. The advantage also is, if you need to, let's say, move this adjustment layer back, the only part of this, see this little line is green? Well, that little part turned yellow, which is like our yellow part out here, unrendered. So instead of the whole thing turning yellow and having, therefore, to re-render the entire project, when the client comes and requests some edits, you got to re-render little bits and pieces instead of the entire thing. Again, if you're working on a big 40, 50-minute project, how much time would this save you? I'm going to undo that, and our rendering is preserved there because really we haven't changed the video at all. But now let's go ahead and put this smart rendering to the test. I'm going to hit Command or Control M to bring up my export settings. I'm going to leave everything as it was, QuickTime Custom. We're going ProRes 422. Note, I'm not ProRes HQ or 422 HQ or LT. Just straight ProRes 422, exactly as we have it for our previews. And I'm going to check on Use Previews, just like so. We're still rendering the same in to out sequence, 1 minute, 5 seconds, 9 frames, the whole bit. I'm going to choose to save this as the O2, and I'm going to say smart rendered. And I'm going to save it right to that same file. And if all goes well here, I'm not even going to have to speed the video up. Check this out. I'm going to hit export, and look at how fast this goes. I mean, we're going from what was a 3 minute and 10-second render down to, that was less than 10 seconds it took to export that entire 1 minute. That right there is the advantage of being able to pre-render and smart render chunks or your entire video project here within Premiere. Again, you're going to want to do some research on the smart rendering to make sure that you're using a codec, a file format, all that kind of stuff that's going to work and how that works. But that is how you do a basic smart render here in Premiere. That can be the power of it. Taking what would be a 3-minute render down to 10 seconds. I mean, that essentially, extrapolate that out, that would take a 30-minute render down to like what, 1 minute and 40 seconds. So you can do a lot if you set yourself up for smart rendering, and it can just save you a whole lot of time. At the end of the day, when you're finally ready to send those files over to the client, instead of waiting 50 minutes for a file to render out, hey, I think 2.5 minutes sounds a whole lot nicer than that. So take advantage of smart rendering when and where you can. You certainly won't regret it. And there you have it. 5 things, right? Simple enough, but really, really cool. They're just things that I find useful and kind of random, but really nice to know. So I thought, hey, I'll make a video and share a couple of these things with the good people on YouTube, so that's what I did. If you enjoyed this video, make sure, again, you subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do Instagram, you can follow me on Instagram. If you prefer Discord or you do both, you can also join our Discord server, discord.me/tutvid, where the conversation continues on beyond the end of this video. Guys, for smart rendering, which is just incredibly cool, is it not? And the anchor point snapping tool and previewing and setting a poster frame and just all the different stuff we covered in this video. That's it. Get it? Got it? Good. Nathaniel Dodson, tutvid.com. I'll catch you in the next one. And before you go, make sure you subscribe to my channel for more great tutorials every day. Also, buy my course. It helps us do what we do, and this channel is supported by viewers just like you. You can also just click the thumbnail and watch another video from this channel. See you next time, guys.